Welcome back to Reflections Unfiltered. Tonight we're peeling back the layers on a story that's been haunting headlines and, honestly, my own thoughts for days. The sudden death of Dan Rivera, the man behind the infamous Annabelle doll, during the Devils on the Run tour in Gettysburg. It's one of those stories that feels like it's already half legend, half reality, and the truth is somewhere in the mist between. So let's start with what we know. Rivera was found in his hotel room on July 13th after telling colleagues he felt unwell that morning. The official word from Pennsylvania State Police? Nothing suspicious at the scene. The Annabelle doll, by the way, was locked up in a van outside, not in the room. The coroner's still waiting on the autopsy, but the rumours, as you can imagine, are running wild.
Yeah, Nikki, and the atmosphere in Gettysburg that weekend was already electric. I mean, you've got the Devils on the Run tour, people coming in from all over, some looking for a thrill, others genuinely curious about the paranormal. Gettysburg itself is, well, it's a place heavy with history, and if you believe the stories, more than a few ghosts. Rivera was a fixture at these events, and his passing just amped up the tension. But, you know, the police were pretty clear, no evidence of anything out of the ordinary. It's easy to see how people start connecting dots that maybe aren't there, especially with a story this charged.
It's the perfect storm, isn't it? A haunted doll, a town famous for its restless dead, and a sudden, unexplained death. The internet's appetite for the uncanny is insatiable, but the facts, those are quieter, less dramatic. Rivera felt ill, went to rest, and never woke up. The doll, meanwhile, was locked away, inert as a rag stuffed with cotton. Yet, the legend grows. It's almost as if the story itself is alive, feeding on our fear and fascination.
That's so true, Eden, and it reminds me, on a much smaller scale, of those late-night meditation retreats I used to do in the Colorado woods. There's something about being alone in the dark, every sound amplified, your mind conjuring shadows out of nothing. I remember one night I was convinced I heard footsteps circling my tent. My heart was pounding, and I was sure, absolutely sure, something was out there. But when I finally worked up the courage to look, it was just a deer nosing around for snacks. It taught me how easily fear can fill in the blanks when facts are scarce. I think that's what we're seeing here too.
Yeah, Nikki, that's a good point. The mind's a powerful thing, especially when it's primed for the extraordinary. And in Gettysburg, with the tour, the history, and the Annabelle legend, it's almost like people were waiting for something to happen. Rivera's death just gave them a story to tell, even if the real story is much more ordinary and, in a way, more tragic.
Let's follow the thread back to the doll itself. Annabelle. She's not porcelain, not the Hollywood version, but a simple Raggedy Ann, stitched and faded. Her legend began with Ed and Lorraine Warren, founders of the New England Society for Psychic Research. They claimed she was demonically possessed, and for years she sat behind glass in their occult museum, only brought out for special events, always with elaborate precautions. Rivera, in fact, helped design her current transport case, painted with holy water no less. It's a story that's grown legs, running wild through movies, media, and midnight conversations.
And the public just eats it up. I mean, the fascination with Annabelle is almost as interesting as the doll itself. And the media loves a good haunted object. And the Warrens, well, they were masters at weaving myth and mystery. But if you look at the documented events, it's mostly stories, anecdotes, and a lot of suggestion. I can't help but see the parallels to my time in Rhodesia working with intelligence and propaganda. You plant a seed, an idea, and if the soil's right, it grows into something much bigger than the facts ever supported. The power of suggestion is real, and in the right context, it's almost unstoppable.
That's fascinating, John. And it's so easy to forget, with all the movie magic and social media hype, that the real Annabelle is just fabric and thread. But the stories, those are what people remember. I think about how, in our last episode on intention in Yikwan, we talked about how belief shapes reality. Here it's almost the reverse. The legend shapes the belief, and suddenly a doll becomes a vessel for all our fears. The Nesper, the Warrens, they understood that power. They didn't just collect haunted objects, they curated stories, and those stories took on a life of their own.
And the media, of course, amplifies it. Every headline, every viral post, it's another layer of myth. But if you strip it all away, what's left? A doll in a box, a man who believed in something bigger than himself, and a public hungry for the next thrill. The real magic, if you can call it that, is in how we choose to see, and what we choose to believe.
After Rivera's death, the Nesper put out a statement. Devastated, of course, but also determined. They're continuing the Devils on the Run tour in his honour, which has stirred up a lot of debate. Some fans are worried about the safety of the new handlers. Others think it's the right way to pay tribute. It's a tough call. Rivera was with them for over a decade, and by all accounts, he was deeply committed to educating people about the paranormal, not just scaring them. The community's been hit hard. Jason Hawes from Ghost Hunters posted about it. He was pretty clear, asking people not to sensationalize Rivera's death or blame it on Annabelle. He wanted people to remember the man, not just the myth.
It's heartbreaking, really. The outpouring of grief from the paranormal world. It's a reminder that behind every legend, there are real people, real losses. Rivera wasn't just a handler or a tour guide. He was a friend, a mentor, someone who believed in sharing his experiences, even if they were misunderstood. And now the tour goes on, but it's changed. There's a shadow over it, a sense of vulnerability that wasn't there before. I think it's important, as Jason Hawes said, to honour Rivera's memory by focusing on his compassion and dedication, not just the spectacle.
And yet the legend persists. That's the thing about stories. They outlive us, sometimes twisting into shapes we never intended. We're drawn to tales that blur the line between fear and truth, because they let us dance with the unknown without ever really touching it. Rivera's death, the Annabelle myth, the tour that continues, it's all part of a larger tapestry. We grieve, we speculate, we keep telling the story, because in some way it helps us make sense of what we can't control. Maybe that's why we're so captivated by these legends. They give us a way to hold our fears, to name them, and maybe, just maybe, to let them go.
That's beautifully said, Eden, and I think that's where we'll leave it for tonight. The Annabelle Incident isn't just about a doll or a death. It's about the stories we tell, the fears we carry, and the ways we try to find meaning in the shadows. Thank you both for sharing your insights, and thank you to everyone listening for joining us on this journey.
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. Eden, always a pleasure. And to our listeners, keep questioning, keep reflecting. We'll be back soon with more stories that challenge what you think you know.
Until next time, darlings. May your nights be quiet, your stories true, and your fears just a little less heavy. Good night, Nikki. Good night, John.